Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. Abundance. What does it mean? Well, if you have total abundance, then you no longer need economics, as there's nothing to economize. Everyone has everything they want. But unless you're in the Garden of Eden, there will still be scarcity. Perhaps we should start with a definition of how we see Elon's vision of abundance. Well, something along the lines of everything costing very little, as all the energy comes from renewables, all the transport is electric, and bots are doing almost all the work. Elon talks about universal basic income often, so it's likely everyone has the same income to live on. I'm not sure what the government would be like in this scenario. My guess is they have very little to do with monetary policy, and are less active in the actual economy. So you don't have to work, you have a bot to do everything for you, cook, clean, chores. Food is delivered to you, your house generates and stores energy, you have everything you need. So what do you do each day? That's right, everyone is so busy focusing on what they won't have to do, they forget to realize that they still need something to do. I went through a transitory retirement in my mid-20s. Whilst it's nice not having to do anything each day, it can get boring too, especially when none of your friends are close to retirement yet either. It's just that people need something to do as well, and somewhere to go. The thing is, now everything is abundant, well, we get into scarcity again. Everyone is looking for things to do. So they want to go out for dinner, except everyone wants to go out for dinner. So there are either massive queues, or we're back to scarcity. And that going out to a restaurant will cost a proportion of your UBI. In fact, everything will cost a proportion of your income. Fine, you have unlimited food and heat, but there are still only so many things to do. What would the solution be? Well, just build more restaurants, more parks, more theatres, more entertainment, more Disneylands, and we can make the robots build these. Drug and alcohol use may increase as people turn to them as a solution for something to do. Again, higher drug and alcohol use is a side effect of welfare. But anyway, there'll be a big gaping demand in the entertainment sector. We need people to think of new ways of entertaining us. Or can the bots think for us at this stage and come up with new ideas for us? Or write stories for us? Or animate a movie that is the most suited to our tastes? However, you can't make another Eiffel Tower or pyramids. Okay, perhaps Vegas tried, but you get the idea. What if everyone in the world can now conveniently and affordably travel anywhere in the world? And what if everyone wants to see the Colosseum? The logistics won't work. They will need to be controlled with pricing, which is how scarcity is controlled in the economy. In other words, your UBI may be enough for you to go somewhere overseas just once a year or so. Remember though, we're possibly talking about the population of the entire planet. This is where we go back to scarcity. There are simply only so many people who can physically go up the Eiffel Tower every day. Alright, I'm talking about some very unique scarce locations, but does it stop there? What about the beach? What about on a nice day, everyone has the day off and needs something to do, and they all go to the beach, and everywhere is crowded and you have to queue for everything. There is only so much space. There are only so many parks, beaches, or places to go. Also, now the robots can just do everything for us. Mine, farm, fish, refine, manufacture, deliver. Well, we can all have a lot more, as they can work cheaper and more efficient. But that doesn't mean there is suddenly more land for farming or more fish in the ocean. In this scenario, the abundance that's been created is just finding a way of depleting the planet's resources at a much faster rate, using bots, autonomy, and renewable energy as leverage. Now, a purebred capitalist may like this idea, and at this stage in the planet we've just about removed all burning of fossil fuels, but how much of the planet are we going to be consuming? If we've just found faster, more efficient ways of extracting everything from the ground, then are we any better off? And now everyone can afford to have food delivered to them. Well, it doesn't mean there are suddenly more cows on the planet. Sure, we can have robot farmers, but there is also the physical land. We're currently removing large parts of the Amazon rainforest in order to find more grazing for cattle. There may not be enough land for everyone to have steak. Scarcity is still going to be involved. On the other hand, what if we have so much abundant energy, we could have farms on multiple floors, like a skyscraper, but growing vegetables on every floor. Each floor grows the produce with artificial light, and therefore we can grow an abundant amount of food that way. This is similar to what the economist Thomas Malthus was warning everyone in the 19th century, that human population is going to outgrow the amount we can produce, and we will eventually run out of food. However, new farming techniques were discovered and we became more efficient in farming and had more abundance in food. Well, these bots may take away the dangerous and tedious tasks, but all jobs? Some people love their jobs. Jobs will likely require a lot more specialized education, likely to do with programming robots. Just like how we're also familiar with computers these days, but now people can spend all the time they like learning or studying, as they could have enough income to live on and can excel at anything they so wish. This would mean that people who did not usually have a chance to explore their innovative ideas now do, and that we should see a lot more innovation in the world, as long as creativity isn't suppressed. It would depend on the creativity of AI, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to out-invent a human for some time. There should be ample opportunities for entrepreneurs, as there may not be a lot of other jobs required, just people with ideas of improving our standard of living by finding new things for us to do. For example, back to scarcity. Well, there are only so many ski fields in the world. If everyone could suddenly afford to ski, travel, and has no job, then can you imagine the queues on the ski fields? It needs to be controlled with pricing, as there is scarcity. But if someone is innovative enough to make a skiing simulator on the sort of meta level, like Ready Player One style, then that would allow more abundance. The metaverse is likely more of an abundance situation, although I'm sure they'll make you pay for everything in there anyway. However, in the abundant economy we're talking about, you could build indoor ski fields, as many as everyone needs, perhaps locally. Perhaps every neighborhood can just have so much entertainment and the bots can run it all. They may only be an electric scooter ride away and possibly still faster to get there than a robotaxi. It might also make sense to grow as much food locally too. This would be because autonomous driving could create too much congestion. What if you want to earn more though, and there are no jobs? Yeah, that's tough. I guess you save up and buy a business or learn a skill that still has a demand. You have to do something that is scarce. No one pays for abundance. I can't sell a jar of air to anyone. There is plenty of it. But perhaps we'll just end up seeing more specialized companies that are highly niched. Perhaps someone who specializes in growing the best strawberries. They're completely organic, grown in the best soil, so possibly managed by a robot, but that's not the point. The point is we can go deeper into niches, into everything, and specialize further, perhaps using our robot as an aid. Maybe there's a gardener that comes to your house with their robot and asks you how you want your hedges trimmed. The robot could essentially sculpt something from your hedge, and it would look much better than any human ever could, and just take minutes, compared to days. The robots could act more like a plough, leveraging what humans already are capable of, rather than replacing them completely. This might result in so much more leverage in many ways to improve living standards. Also, now that everyone is out doing whatever they want each day and getting everything delivered to them with autonomy, well, suddenly the roads are more congested, and it takes a long time to get anywhere. Sure, you get to spend that time comfortably and entertained, not having to drive yourself, but it might mean we spend a lot more time in vehicles, as the cost of transport is so much lower. This really can only be mitigated by 3D roads, which means either cars fly or have multiple tunnels. Sure, autonomy might help move traffic faster, but the cost of everything has changed from dollars to time. Before, it might have cost $50 and 20 minutes to go to a restaurant. Now it becomes $10 and 1 hour's drive. We've traded time for money instead of money for time. Are we any better off? Of course, we also have property too. There is only so much land, and only so much land in the most desirable places. If we have free food and energy, then it's worth spending as much as you can on nice property. Sure, robots can no doubt build property in this scenario at a much lower cost than humans, assuming there are still abundant resources like timber. Think how fast robots could get through all the timber on the planet and manufacture it for consumption. I mean, equally they should be able to replant forests too. So although building is cheaper, it just means that land would cost more. People have, for example, $1 million budget for their home. If the cost of the building reduces, then they can afford to spend more on land. In sparse areas where land is cheap, then you could build low-cost accommodation, but there's still only one Malibu. So abundance here really means you're given enough to live on if you choose not to work. But scarce activities will become expensive. How do you attain wealth in an abundant society? You have to make something scarce. I think humans need opportunity, at least some of them. I might have sounded a little bit scattered here as I was generally thinking this all through of how the economics of a so-called abundant society might function. Does it really add to our living standards as much as we think? And this could be 20 or 100 years' time, but it is the end game that should be considered and addressed. Anyway, I look forward to all your thoughts and opinions on it too. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.